Hi, I'm WillPWilson, and this is the All Day Live show. Thanks for watching this week and every week, and thank you for tuning in to something that's changing the world. Don't ask me how, but it is, and it is based on people with innovation and creativity. So tonight we're going to cover some ideas of people that actually are innovative, are creative, I think are leading kind of the way on the means by which we can do things in architecture of our future. Architecture of the future of technology, architecture of the future of our survival as a people. And what's that mean? Well, you got certain things going on. We just had 18 dispensaries closed down here, or should I say were raided by the DEA. Should I say they took things from them, but some of them are still open. And that was in Tacoma and Olympia as well. And this will be the weekend after, or shall I say, we will be covering the Olympia Hemp Fest this weekend. So get ready for that. But we're going to cover some ideas with LED lighting, LushLEDlighting.com, that is. And by the way, this is All Day Live. I'm WillPWilson. We're going to have help from Herberb helping discuss this with Jason-Konz, as well as Matt Johnson. And this is the Lush Lighting LED concept, or should I say Lush LED lighting. Get that straight. And if we continue to re-educate ourselves, meaning you got to remember a couple of times to be able to remember what we're trying to remember. So that's how it works, to remembering. And I think that as we get tuned into this, we begin to see what it's all about. There's a thing going on with the technology of lighting, indoor lighting. I know it's outdoor lighting with I-502 here in Washington State. It's a big deal. Lots going on. What is outdoor growing? What's commercial? What's industrial? What's medical? What's organic medical? Whole lot of different things happening here. I'm sure Sharon Foster of the State Liquor Board overseeing this is about as confused as she can be. Even Allison Holcomb that wrote the I-502, I'm sure she's really confused. So in the meantime, we're going to broadcast and try to unconfuse this. In the meantime, we're going to have in the background, we've got Herberb. Herb, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
If we get things going, and by the way, that's me right there, WillPWilson, if we get that up there. Thank you very much. And then Herb, we're going to cover some ideas with being able to cover a means of getting people to understand what LED lighting. Herb's going to kind of help me talk with Matt as far as, I'm bringing your credentials up. Matt, we're going to bring you up here in just a second. Hold on as we get you up there. And there you are. And we've got you guys in the background. If Matt, that's Matt Johnson, and that's Jason-Konz. And you guys, we're trying to figure this thing out. And you guys are trying to help us figure it out with Lush LED lighting, if we get that set up correctly. And thanks for being here tonight on All Day Live. Give us some ideas. You were at the Cannabis Cup in Richmond, California this last June 2013, and we did some expose on that. You seem to be at the extreme leading edge. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. I appreciate you saying we're on the leading edge, because that's exactly where we are. This is uncharted territory. This is breaking new ground constantly. As the technology becomes available for us, we're testing it immediately. We're working with the OEMs, and we're coming up with ways to fuel plants with light so they're able to grow better like no one else. And we're doing it because the world needs it. We need to be able to reduce our energy consumption. We need to be able to reduce our impact on the entire world and carbon emissions. And we all know that HID lights cost a lot to run. And so we've been working with the LED technology to perfect it and make sure that, when somebody puts the light in their garden, that it's going to be perfect, that it's going to grow the healthiest plant that they've ever seen. And that's been our goal. And Cushington Farms has helped us come along a long way in order to achieve that goal. And we've been at this for over 3 years, and now we're bringing it out to you guys. It's perfect timing.
Thank you. And so as far as the applications I mentioned in the technology as it was shown at Cannabis Cup High Times in Richmond, the technology is improving so quickly that we got the other type of technology, but this is more efficient and has more capability, right?
Absolutely. When you look at light and how the different ways that it works, And for us, when we're trying to grow plants, we need to be able to fuel that plant with the type of energy that it needs to grow. So it's different than all the other types of light. And when we're working with the 3-watt diodes, they're the most effective way at creating light, the most efficient way at creating light. When you increase to the 5-watt and the larger watt diodes, the efficiency of creating light goes down and the amount of heat that's generated goes up. So that's not the direction that we're trying to go in. We were trying to maintain that peak efficiency, and we also want to keep the heat down so that it's easier to cool the rooms.
Interesting. Herb, you got some questions?
I certainly do. Do you make your own LEDs yourself, or do you buy your LEDs from someone else and apply your technology to those?
Go ahead.
Right. We send our engineering specs off to somebody else in order to have our lights manufactured. So from Taiwan to China, there's different parts coming from different places. The engineering is based here, and all of that is a violation of a lot of people's hard work. And we taught one factory how to build our light, and it took several factories and testing them and seeing which was going to be the right fit for rush lighting. And we found a good factory, so we taught them the one correct way in order to build our light.
Okay, so you just start over. You ready? Okay, so we're back on track with this LED, which is not track lighting, but go ahead, Herb. You mentioned that. Go ahead.
Okay, so you guys, you farm out the manufacturing of your lighting, but you design your LEDs yourself. So I'm wondering what differences are there between your LEDs and the others that are out there on the market?
I could barely hear you, Herb. I'm sorry, I lost you at that last part.
What's different about your LEDs from the other LEDs on the market?
Everything. Actually, when we were building the different lights, as we were getting to the point where we are now, we went through several manufacturers to make different designs that we came up with. So we were able to figure out who knew what they were talking about, whose engineers behind the scenes were any good. And unfortunately, we couldn't find any good engineers over there, any of them. And unfortunately then, we had to disclose some of our trade secrets to one of the factories and show them the right way to go about assembling and powering and aligning and doing everything with the in voltage and the out voltage so that the light works properly and will actually last the 10 years that it's supposed to. So yeah, there's not really anything that's similar about the Lush light other than maybe the frame or that the diodes might look like they're the same as another light. But everything on the inside, the engineering, the components, the true colors that it's making, the blend, the colors, it's all different from any other light out there. That's one thing that's very unique about LEDs is that every single light's different. The way that the company engineered it, the way that they designed it, and the colors that they're choosing to make, they all play a very big role. And ultimately, it's the results that speak for the grow light. How well does it grow light grow plants? And because every light's different, that's what's most important.
Mm-hmm. So how about the light dispersal pattern of your LEDs? Would you say that it's superior to the other dispersal patterns of other LEDs? And would you say it's more a precise cone, or is it kind of fuzzy at the edges?
That's a very good question, Herb. Thanks. The pattern of our light is very unique as well. When we're looking at light from an LED diode, they're coming out all in very specific different colors. So the color needs to blend. What happens if the color doesn't blend very well is it'll start to look blotchy on the plant. And maybe the top layer of leaves might look uniform. But as soon as you get underneath there, you start to see, blue spots and red spots and, orange spots, and the different colors start to really show. And that's not helping the plant. That's not helping photosynthesis when, it's missing 70% of the fuel that it needs and it's only getting part of it. So it's real important that the colors get to blend evenly so that the plant gets everything that it needs everywhere and where it needs it.
So would you say how far apart the LEDs are in the fixture makes a big difference?
It does make a difference, yes. There's other things that make a big difference too. I would say one of the largest are the way that the pattern with which the photons come out of the diodes. A a lot of people or companies now are trying to make their lights more powerful because they're not as effective as they were hoping. And ultimately, we're growing plants, so it's not very effective at growing plants. They want to make the light more powerful. They do that by adding more diodes. They do that by trying to up the power, not understanding the engineering that goes into it. And they also do it by adding secondary lenses or third lenses or fraction lenses. And the reason they're doing that is they're trying to concentrate the light. They're trying to make it more powerful, so to speak, to them. And all those attempts are futile. They're really not helping the plant. They're not helping photosynthesis. The lights are not succeeding in the market because customers aren't raving about them. They're not working that great. And ultimately, when you're concentrating that type of light, it's doing the same thing as if the light's not blending very well. It's making a really hot spot in the middle, and it's not getting out to the rest of the canopy where the plant really needs it, and it's not blending and penetrating the way that it should. So, when we blend our light, it's very unique.
So it seems like you've put a lot of thought into how the plant's going to respond to the light that you're throwing down. How long did you actually spend researching what the plant needs that other LEDs are not providing?
About 4 years, a little over 4 years.
4 years, yeah, I believe it.
We've been building grow lights for over 3, so time seems to just go by really, really fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, LEDs are actually a very complex subject. A lot of people don't understand how they work and why they can be so much more efficient. Matter of fact, I've known many people who went out and bought some of the first models on the market and used them for their seedlings and killed all their seedlings because they didn't realize that all the light is falling in a pattern that's much more dense than you would get from regular light. The inverse square law just doesn't apply in cases like that, so they misuse their LEDs a lot. Do you find a lot of people who start using your LEDs need to relearn how to light their gardens?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of learn how to relight it. It's a matter of convenience and safety and longevity and quality of the crops that you're growing. That's what it really comes down to. It's simple, it's easy, and it's going to last out to 10 years. So a decade from now, you're still looking at lush lights in your garden, and they're still growing great plants, and that's the difference.
It's not so much that they have to relearn, because I take a lot of questions on Facebook from people that get lush lights because they know I'm the first one that used them. It's the amazement that they see that they have to more or less relearn how to water and nutrition their plants more than they have to relearn how to light, because the lighting is very similar to the HID, the MH, it's 4x4 grid. So that's the same way, but it's so many more lumens and it's a radiant heat that it doesn't need to be fed as often, and it gets to be a problem with people sometimes. It's an unbelievable thing because the lights themselves provide some of the nutrition for the plant by providing nutrition for the proteins that feed the plant. The HPS don't. So the plants feed and maintain their own growth better, so they don't need as many nutrients in the soil because it's maximizing its usage that it didn't used to use. So that's where they have to relearn more than anything. It's not so much the lighting as much as it's the feeding and the water.
Mm-hmm. So how long does it take for these lights to pay for themselves in energy consumption?
To pay for themselves just in energy consumption alone, not the other factors?
Yeah, just energy.
Just energy alone, about 12 months.
12 months. That's pretty good.
How many depends on the area that you're in, though, because we put a chart up on our website, and we also have it in our literature, and it's based off what you're paying for a kilowatt hour, because here in the Midwest, it's not that much. But, when you get on one of the coasts, or you get into a major city, or, Hawaii, for example, they're paying up to 30 cents a kilowatt hour. So in that case, a lush light's going to pay for itself in 4 to 6 months. And it's kind of relative to where you're at, what you're paying in electric. But then we also have less cooling. So, once you factor in that it's a lot easier to keep a lush light room cool, and your air conditioners aren't kicking on as often. We have one of our guys from Arizona, with Happy Harvesters, the retail store there, and he's running the lights at home, and he's saying his air conditioner is cycling. And that's unheard of. He's in Arizona, it's 110 some degrees, his air conditioner is recycling, and he says it's cycling every couple minutes. And so he was wondering, what he should do about that. And my suggestion was get another Rush light so that the air conditioner has to stay on. Anyway, but that's the true benefit. So there's other factors that go into it other than just the lighting wattage difference, because it's about a third, so it's under half the wattage.
For me, it cut my energy bill in half every month.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of growers like to think in terms of watts per square foot, and most especially how many watts of light per square foot are striking the plants. How do the yields measure up compared to regular incandescent lighting for the yield on the bottom plants? Because like I said, the inverse square law no longer applies. Do you find that it helps with yield on lower parts of plants?
Well, let me hit on that in a second, because the inverse square law is always going to apply. Even though you're able to get your plants closer to the light, we don't recommend it. We recommend keeping your plants at least 24 inches away from our lights. That allows the light pattern to spread and get an even amount of light throughout the canopy level. Now, if you want to go ahead and get plants a little bit closer, that's fine. You are able to grow plants within 12 inches. Anything less than 12 inches is going to cause photochemical quenching, and you don't want to go there. So, there is a minimum distance. So the intensity of light continues to increase quite greatly because of the inverse square law the closer you get. So the difference between, something that's 24 inches away, say, versus 20 inches versus even 18 inches, you're going to start to see a pretty big increase. That's why one of the dispensaries using our lights out in Colorado, Nature's Way Wellness Center, they started putting 3 lights into a 4x8 table instead of 2 lights, because they want to see, okay, well, if we do that, then we can allow the plant to get a little bit closer to it. Because the inverse square law, the intensity of that light goes up very, very fast from artificial lighting. And so, that kind of increase really happens and helps. But penetration you brought up, penetration doesn't come just from light intensity alone. Light intensity does play a big part of it. That's why our lights are producing over 180,000 lumens. But light intensity is not what's increasing penetration. Penetration is actually coming from how well is the plant able to absorb the photons, convert them into electrons, and how far those electrons are able to travel through the water stream throughout the plant. Because the further those electrons can travel, the further the plant is able to pull that electron back out and use it for photosynthesis. Cannabis is very unique. This is one of the unique plants that's able to do this. And not all other plants can. There's a reason that it's able to do it. And the fact that it can is miraculous. And what it's able to do then is pull the electrons back out of the water. And that's how our technology works. That's what increases the penetration, is the type of light that we create. It's very highly energetic.
Okay, I've got a sort of a pet question I have about lighting in general. See, I'm a big fan of ultraviolet light. I think it's very important for all things on this earth to receive a certain amount. Do you recommend that people add a little bit of ultraviolet light, or do you provide enough in your LED arrays to...
We're going to put so much ultraviolet light in your greenhouse, I've never seen this much ultraviolet light before. Unless you're bringing in the sun, it's never been done. And I guarantee you, take some sunglasses or regular glasses that turn darker into shades when they go into sunlight. Put those underneath our light, dude, and they're going to turn and they're going to become dark. They're going to become shaded because the sunglasses or the glasses are going to react to the UV light that's in our blend color spectrum. So, even other things, for example, the twist ties. Normally the twist tie, you put it in, it's dark green, and you put it in for your plants and stuff like that. Well, you come back to your plants after 4 to 6 weeks after the twist tie's been in there, you go take the twist tie out, there's some of it up here, and the color on it's going to change. And you can see the difference is going to turn like blue, and it's going to turn other colors, and you can see where it was twisted right around the base is still going to be the original color. But that little spot that was getting the direct light, you betcha that changed. It's faded. So I can go into, some problems that arose from our light through engineering and beta testing because of the amount of UV light, because it's causes, adverse effects and chemical reactions and things like that. So we had to protect our light from some of the UV light that we're creating. And this UV light is very, very beneficial to the plant, not harmful at all. We keep it right up the range where plants are actually meant to receive this UV light. And we can go into the benefits of why it's there later, but our lights have the most UV than any other light I've ever seen on the market.
Okay, what size of fixtures do you guys provide? How many wattage and watt hours life expectancy?
So there's the 50,000 hours. This is all typical for LED. They all last 10 years, they say. What really matters, though, is the engineering that goes into it. So you have these lights that last 10 years. We've all heard this story. LEDs, oh, you're going to have this light for a decade. How many LEDs have been thrown in the trash in the last 10 years? These lights that were supposed to last 10 years couldn't even make it 2 to 3 months in the field. If you've had an LED that you bought in the past, there's a probably pretty good chance that you're not using it anymore, or you've seen diodes go out on it, you've seen parts fail on it. There's been a lot of bad engineering. The guys that are making the lights, other than Lush Lights, the guys that are making the other lights, a lot of them just don't really know what they're doing. So what happens is it affects how the diodes perform and the heat transfer of the diode, and making sure that the voltage isn't getting too high on the diode, because we have to make sure they're aligned in sequence properly. There's a lot that goes into it. So when these guys are slapping lights together, they got a quick engineering and they got a quick light that they put together. They're going to slap a box on it and sell it. The problem is that if they didn't do the testing first, they didn't do the research behind it, it's not going to be a full light. And what happens is then it fails, and the company's not there to back up their warranty. And I've heard story after story of people that have been out $1,000 to $10,000 on LEDs. So it's happened a lot to people in the past. Yeah, I try to be modest about the industry and the problems that we face as an emerging LED company, especially since we're using similar technology that was already been out there before. So people think, oh, well, that's the same thing that my buddy used, and it's not. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it seems like the major difference between yours and everybody else's is care in the manufacturing process. I know a lot of stuff's going downhill in terms of quality and whatnot, but your stuff all seems to be very tightly controlled, very tight tolerances and whatnot, very designed to last a good long time.
You're getting quiet on me, Herb. Can't hear you again.
So it seems like the difference between your LEDs and others is just the quality of construction, wouldn't you say? I mean, the quality of construction and the methods.
Well, that's a very big difference, yes. That's one of the biggest. The other one, the biggest, obviously, is going to be the spectrum. The plant's growing. They grow very, very well. We're able to say it's going to grow better in outpatient, high pressure soil, and will give you the money back and you mean it. So those are big words. It does that. It really does. And when people put them in their garden, they see that. And they come back and say thank you and pick up another light. So we have that going for us. But as far as being the biggest thing, it would have to be the spectrum that makes plants grow right. That's the biggest thing growing for us. Other minor things that are growing for us that also make the light a little bit more expensive on the market is we inspect everything here. Everything is tested and inspected here in Michigan, every single unit. We make sure that every light is built to our standard, that it's performing the way that it's supposed to, that has the components in it that we ordered for there to be in there, that the manufacturing is to the engineering spec that we put for that light. So that requires money, and it comes with a level of quality that we hope customers come to trust and rely on. That's what it comes with. But that's what you get with Lush Lights. You also get that. You also get service here in the United States. If anything goes wrong with the Lush Light, we're going to fix it for you. We're going to take care of you. We're going to do it here in the United States. We're going to ship you a light. We're going to let you put that up in your garden for a week or two while you ship your light back. We're going to repair your light, give it back to you, and you're going to be back on your way in your business with your own light. If you bought your light from one of our retail stores, we have an agreement with the retail stores. You can take your light back to the retail store, pick up one of the used lights the retail store has, we'll work with the logistics with the retail store to get that light to us, fixed, repaired, back to them, and you can go back and pick it up. You don't even have to deal with any extra hassle or paperwork or shipping.
And
so
how
our
long
customer service.
How long is the warranty on that?
The warranty is 3 years.
How do they get this out here, Matt? Are there distributors out here? Matt, Kurt, go ahead.
Are there distributors out here?
We're not in Washington yet. We're going to be very soon. We have a couple sales reps that have applied for that territory, and it looks like we're going to be doing some training with them in the next couple of weeks, and we'll be there. We're a little bit different of a company, so we're not in a lot of stores. We should probably be at I think it's the Maximum Yield trade show in Las Vegas right now. That's for all the hydroponic stores. But we're not really marketing the hydroponic stores, and there's a reason for that. You know, we're letting all the other companies jump out there and say, hey man, you know, we got the best LED on the market, and we're going to let them talk to all the other retail stores and let them say that. Meanwhile, we're doing the grassroots thing. We're going to the events. We're meeting people that are using the lights. We're going to the states where they have large dispensaries, large grow operations. You know, we're investing into 420 magazine and high time events, and recently with GCR Entertainment. We're working with Relief magazine, and we're going grassroots. We're taking it to the people that use the lights, that are growing with the lights, that are using the products that come from the light. And we're spreading the message to them first, and those are the people that we're reaching out to now. So next year, when we go to hydroponic trade shows, we already have a base and a following of people, that really believe in us, that love us. That they're just going to order Lush lights for the rest of their life and never order another light because, what we've done to help them. And that's the kind of support that we're building right now. So when we go to hydroponic stores, everybody, they have a good name. We have a good name to fall back on, and customers are coming to them looking for a light. It'd be a lot easier for them to sell them, and they'll fly off the shelf when customers already know, and they're coming in to get a Lush light already.
So how do people buy your stuff here now? Can they go to your website online and order?
Yeah, they can go to LushLEDlighting.com, www.lushledlighting.com, and they can also order through all of our retailers. Just because you might be Washington and our retailers in Arizona, you can still pick up the phone and call them, and he'll ship the light to you. It's still coming through us, but it's still that same kind of thing. And we're working with them very closely to offer specials and deals, especially if you're looking at replacing a lot of lights. Our retailers do have a way of making the price more affordable for you guys. We did things like take the box label off and the manual out. These things cost money to print. So we take some of those expenses off. So if you guys are interested in buying in bulk, contact one of our retailers, and there's a promotion that'll help you guys switch out a lot of light.
So suppose somebody wanted to replace a 400 or a 600 or 1,000 watt bulb. What would you recommend they get from your website?
Okay, there's 2 models to go with both stages. So for flowering, there's a large and small model. For vegetating, there's a large and small model. If you're looking to replace a 1,000 watt high pressure sodium, 1,000 watt halide, then you're going to want to go with the larger of the lights, which is going to be the Dominator on the flowering side and the Vegetator on the vegetating side. Both of these lights will cover a 4x4 area just as good or better as the HID counterparts. We also have some customers that have been using the 8 bulb P5 high output compact fluorescent tubes. These are the smaller ones that put out a lot of light, and for their mothers, they've had to use 2 over a 4x4 table. And that's actually using 900 watts of compact fluorescent light. That's what it took in order to keep their mothers alive, and growing healthy and growing strong. Now they're doing that with the Vegetator, and they're doing better than ever before, and that makes us proud. So our vegetating light does grow plants in veg better than typical lights, and for that reason, when you have a plant that goes into flower after it's grown better through veg, we have more budding locations, more nodes, more spots where we grow flowers, so it's more valuable.
You guys seem to know an awful lot about growing weed, not just about LEDs. How long have you had experience growing?
It's about 17 years since I was 20. I came across a guy I used to work with, or actually worked for, and well, we came up with a little plan to run an operation in an attic in a state that it wasn't legal in, and I kind of started learning ever since. And then once Michigan went medical legal in 2008, I came here and did it that way. So I've been doing this for about 15, 17 years, a better part of my life.
So what do you like to grow?
All of it. I like indicas myself. Sativas are popular for the medical patients. Specific strains is Jack Herrera, G-Funk. We like the Pineapple Chunk, the Pineapple Express. I just got some Girl Scout cookies that I'm really excited to
Girl Scout cookies.
see how them little ladies turn out. I can grow anything.
Yeah, I've got some Connie Chung growing out on the Olympic Peninsula right now in some, what I've got them growing in is some leaf litter is what it is. It's about 5 inches deep leaf litter right next to a, it's not on the forest land, but it's right next to it. I've got a nice spread of different decaying leaf litter. I've got deciduous trees on one side of the property and pine needles on the other side. So I've got these 5 Connie Chungs out there right now, and they're just looking dynamite. I'm not going to fertilize them or anything.
Nice. Weed's one of the easiest plants to grow. A lot of people make it difficult, and it's not that difficult. It's really a lot simpler than most people make it to be.
Yeah,
you don't
honestly,
need to do a bunch of junk to it. It wants to grow on its own.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a weed either. It's a vegetable.
Yeah, I tell everybody the plant does all the work. What you want to do is not get too far in its way, because if you get too far in its way, you're going to have bad results.
Stay the hell out of its way.
Mm-hmm.
Just protect her. That's all you got to do. I'm a protector. You look at her every 6 to 8 hours if it's indoors like I can, because it's not that hard. And you just, okay, you're okay? Okay, I don't need to do nothing? You're happy? Good. Go away.
I have another question for you. Okay,
Not
so these lights, I'm sure, are a lot safer than other kinds of lights around hydroponics, correct?
Oh, absolutely. They put off a radiant heat so they don't get hot in any way. You can run your lights for 16 hours and then stick your hand on the glass and not get burned and no problems whatsoever. So if you are working around them, you don't need to worry about getting burned or a ball blowing up underneath you and getting rained glass on you or something like that. They're 100 times safer. Not for your eyes. You got to wear sunglasses.
Uh-huh. So have you heard of anybody using those, connecting them to a solar panel and using them for supplemental light in the spring or the fall outside?
I haven't yet. I've heard people that have talked about it, and they've had the idea to pull it off, but I haven't seen anybody do it yet. I'm hoping somebody does, because I have a lot of people I talk to on Facebook about it, so I'm hoping somebody does. I'd like to see how that would work, because we can't do anything outdoors in Michigan, so I can't even attempt to try and see how it would work. That would get me in a lot of trouble.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people, they look at solar power as being the answer, and unfortunately it's not. Yeah, it takes a lot of carbon products in order to make a solar panel, and we've been on the last 10 to 15 years, so it's really not an efficient way of capturing energy. And what happens is when you have a big solar panel, it's producing energy, but it's producing it at milliamps. We're running light fixtures, anywhere from 1 amp to 4 amps. So it's going to take a lot of solar panels in order to create that type of energy. It's also DC current, so your solar panels are going to be very close to where your lighting products are. And so that could be good or bad. but you're being able to drive that electricity directly or as close to the lights as you can. When you have your LED lights, you would take out some of the components that make the light work when it plugs into the wall. You leave it on DC and not even mess with any of the AC current. So you'd be directly driving the diodes at that point. And it's possible, it's feasible to be able to create some light. I think you're right as far as it could be some type of supplemental lighting. But yeah, I don't know as far as how far you're going to be able to go with it. It would really be that beneficial and cost-wise, and, at the end of the lifespan, it met you what you were anticipating or hoping for. That's something that I guess is still to be determined.
I do know if you plug it in your wall and stick it out the window, it'll grow your grass a lot greener and thicker for about 15 feet in a big square area.
And it will.
So I'm sure you guys have heard about the dispensaries being raided here a couple days ago. Have you guys had any issues with your dispensaries in Michigan?
Wow. Do you want to go there? We don't.
It's news. It's AllDayLive.
We don't really have dispensaries. I mean, there's a few, Ann Arbor, Lansing, maybe Grand Rapids, but there's really not a lot of dispensaries up here. There was recently a court case, or 4 months ago, there was a court case, and the judge ruled that dispensaries are operating illegally because the law that they wrote for us to grow medicinal cannabis does not include patient-to-patient or non-patient-to-patient transfers. And for that reason, dispensaries aren't allowed to deal with anybody outside of their given couple patients. And some counties are really strict on that, and some counties aren't. So they're running a big risk, as far as how long they're going to let the dispensary owners continue to stay open.
A lot of the red-colored counties came in and shut everybody down. A few of the blue counties that are pretty cool let it go. Like Ann Arbor's had hash bash for 30 years, maybe longer. So they're pretty cool. They're not going to shut down their dispensaries. But a lot of the red areas, what can you do?
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, blue areas and red areas, because I'm the pirate king of Ephraim. I'm the wild Mormon, and I say I'm as conservative as it gets. And before you go messing with somebody else, really, you have to have an excuse. Did anybody forget the golden rule? I mean, it's like Rosa Parks, in my opinion. All she wanted to do was sit down and be left alone.
Right?
That all she wanted to be was left alone. So why does a judge have, where does the wild hair come from, and why does she have to pull it on you guys? You know what I mean?
It's not fair.
There was a local defense attorney that wanted to see his name in the paper really big in a small little county.
What's his name?
But we do what we can. We work with what they've given us, and we're lucky to even be able to do that. I can tell you, there's a lot of people now that are feeling better, that have been cured of cancer and numerous of other things, MS, Crohn's,
arthritis, chronic back issues.
Yeah, it just goes on, and I'm excited and proud to be part of it. I believe that this is a long time coming, and that this country deserves the right to be able to treat people naturally, and it's time for some truth to be told, and we're part of a revolution, I believe. Our children are going to talk about this, these years, and what we've been able to do, and hopefully be able to overcome in the next few years.
I got a cancer patient. It was stage 4 ovarian cancer, I think. It was female parts cancer. I don't want to get too technical. And she was being poisoned with all the radiation. Didn't do anything but lay on the couch. And after 2 weeks of a juicing system that I have, she was out doing laundry and cooking dinner. And the greatest phone call I ever got was from her husband that was telling me she's got the energy to get up and cook dinner and do laundry. Not because it needed to be done, because she wanted to. She hadn't been able to do stuff like that in forever. Now, why is the government telling this woman that she has to lay on the couch and be sick and not get up and be able to cook dinner and do her laundry for her family.
Well, I'll give you a clue. The word government itself means mind control.
Fair point. Fair point.
All right, well, thanks for sharing this with us.
Hey, real quick, Jason and Matt, this is a great honor, truly. You're true great pioneers, truly. We have the highest respect for you. Are you going to be out here at HempFest this August?
I'll be out there for HempFest, and then I'm going to be up and down the West Coast, and then I'll be back in Seattle for the Cannabis Cup. I hope to get out and see a lot of people that are all friends of mine on the West Coast.
And I'll just be at the Cannabis Cup.
At the Cannabis Cup, right on.
And so we need to do some more broadcasting on the future of this technology. You guys are at the very leading edge. So we're going to try to educate our public. Our viewers need to be educated. That's the whole idea of AllDayLive. Last educational advice. Give us some ideas. And Herb, help me on this one too.
Okay.
Go ahead, Matt. Herb.
Yeah, what do you suggest people study to further the cannabis industry, especially with regard to stuff like lighting and whatnot?
When it comes to stuff like lighting, it's tough because you can't always believe what you hear. I'm another guy saying another thing, and I hope you guys believe me. And when you put the light under your plants, it's going to show that we're right. But you have a lot of guys that are saying a lot of things, and what's going on is it's getting, I guess, just overwhelming. It's getting crowded. It's getting to a point where it's difficult to be heard. It's difficult to get information out there. And so what happens is people that have a lot of influence, a lot of money, they kind of determine the way that things should be and the way that things should go, to the point where they're even writing our textbooks. So for somebody to be able to figure out the right way to fuel a plant photosynthesis, there's no real guide that's going to tell them what to do. There's no textbook, there's no instructions, there's nothing out there that's going to be able to pinpoint photosynthesis to a T. And I know that because what we're doing with light are fueling pigments that are sensitive to the color of voltage. And to the voltage of color. And with that, when the voltage of the color is different, the plant responds differently. And when the science books say that this is the way that it is, this is what the plant needs to grow, and I say, okay, and I build that, and it doesn't grow very good plants, it's simple to see that wasn't the right theory. That theory didn't work. That's not what's going on in photosynthesis. So we have to look elsewhere and look at other theories. And ultimately, it took looking outside of the box and beyond what's being taught in the McGraw-Hill photochemistry textbook and biochemistry textbook. And it's not about that. It's not about that. It's about fueling a plant with the same type of energy that it pulls from the sun, and the ratio that it gets that energy from the sun, and the right color spectrums that it gets from the sun, so that it can perform photosynthesis the same way that it would under the sun. That's what grow lighting is all about. And the science books, they don't paint the full picture. They don't say everything that's going on. And I'd love to cover another segment on that and why they're not.
I would love to be on that segment with you, honestly, because what you've been saying is some of the truest stuff that I've heard anybody say in a very, very long time. And I'm blown away to hear it come from somebody else's mouth. And I'm glad I was on TV to be with you while you said it. Thank you very much for saying what you just said.
Thank you, you guys.
That was really nice of you to say. Thanks.
We're looking forward to
it. It's just, it's all about coming to full circle with this project. And it started with a hope, that we could be able to fuel plants with a better type of light than high pressure sodium. And there was a lot of research and science and trials and errors and ups and downs and defaults and just so many things, you know.
Study the horticulture and the biology of marijuana plants, the cannabis plant. That's the best way you can learn how to grow it and understand what the light's doing, is through the biology of it. Because cannabis is one of the few original plants on Earth. A lot of the other plants came along later, so that's part of why the way it fuels photosynthesis is different than other plants, because it's a dinosaur, so to speak.
That's a good way to put it.
Now, when you were speaking about juicing for your friend with cancer, were you talking about juicing marijuana? Because that's actually become a hot health issue lately.
Yes, that's exactly what I was talking about. We use some of the raw cannabis bud, and a lot of the family is on the bottom, and we just mix them up in a blender with apple juice and drink that 2 to 3 times a day, and it'll increase your energy level. And with doing it raw, you get more of the medicinal purposes of the THCA and the CBDA that is in the plant that provides the medical benefits for you.
My goodness, it's been a long time since I met anybody who knew nearly as much as I do about cannabis, and I'm just blown away by both of you guys. I mean, I'm a big fan of smoking it and getting high and all that, but there is so much more to the plant, and I am just blown away that you guys have spent so much time investigating, probably your own funds, definitely your own work, and figuring out for us, the rest of the growing public, just how the plant works so that we don't have to go through all the headache and heartache of figuring out how to do it right.
That's what I did. That's why I created CushionandFarms.com. That's my website. I put all the information that I've gathered and put it up there, so you don't have to search and look for it and do all the research I did. I put it there for you. You just have to go with it, and it's there so you can even research something that I say and say, okay, it's right. Or if you feel something's wrong, there's a contact submission page. You can contact me, and I'll put it on the website, because I want it for everybody to be there. I want it to be public knowledge, so when the corporations decide that they want to get their greedy crab claws on it, it's already public knowledge and they can't patent it.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Herb. Thanks, Will.
Okay, give me a second. Matt, this is Will Wilson. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? I appreciate it. What are some of the new products? Give us a quick rundown on new products coming up. What new products do you guys have planned? Just an idea real quick.
Okay, that's a good one. We're definitely excited about the new aquarium tank, reservoir light. What it's going to do is send pulses of light through your reservoir tank that are very highly energetic, deep blue. It's going to kill bacteria and things into your tank. If you're in an organic tank, it will kill your beneficial microorganisms, but for the synthetic guys and people that want to just clear out their tank, and then they can go back in and reapply. This is going to be a special type of light that's going to be able to kill all the organisms and keep your reservoir tank. So it's one less thing you got to worry about getting dirty and having to clean. And we're having a lot of success, so looks like that product's going to be pretty close to coming out soon.
What about LEDs that have a frequency or harmonic that can keep mites away, or just a light spectrum even, something like that, LED research in that area? I'm sure it's going to, you guys are at the very forefront of that, right?
So yeah, there are several different species of mite, but they are sensitive to different color spectrums. We're trying to find a way to not harm the plant and be able to harm get the mite out. So, doing it with magnetic waves does seem to be definitely the way we're going to be able to do that. So, if we're going to be able to put a transmitter on our light, we'll be able to blast out a frequency every so often. It's not something that you want to keep on. And we have to make sure that it's safe and have to make sure that it continues to work. It's tough to ask your buddy, hey man, put these mites in your plant. So I can test this frequency. But we do it, and we have other controlled experiences, smaller, that we're showing a lot of success with that.
You heard about that radio channel in France and Paris that they can turn on and it keeps the mosquitoes away? You ever heard about that?
Oh no.
Yeah, it's a little frequency that comes over the radio channel, and it actually apparently keeps the mosquitoes away when they're out in the park.
Nice.
That's a lot safer way than spraying some chemicals in the air and
Isn't it, Tom?
everything else that we do these days.
Right? Bunch of insecticides and all that garbage. I like that.
I think you guys are on the very verge of creating it, so we're letting let all the viewers know while we can, beforehand. Mites, watch out, right?
Right.
Mites
We're
look
coming
out.
for you.
You know, molds look out. Funguses, bacteria.
Powdery mildew,
Look out. Yeah.
aphids.
There's so much potential, you know, with light and frequency. You know, we're curing children with jaundice with light and have been for a really long time. The potential to do other things with light has always been there. It's just a matter of being able to privately fund the research in order to get it done and not let somebody buy up your patents and actually bring a product out to help the people.
And real quick, Jason, as far as your being able to apply your technological expertise, you guys, what magazines can people find your reference? 1000 Watts, Northwest Leaf, High Times, what magazine? I'm sure they're going to be watching.
Right. We're working right now just with the 420 magazine and Release, and we're at the High Times events. But it all takes money, and our investing has been into giving lights away and promoting our product and getting our product out there. So we haven't done a lot of advertising with the magazine. We've been doing a lot of the grassroots things and making sure that people that have the potential to use a lot of our lights, people that are consuming a lot of electricity from using lights, the ones that would benefit from it and be able to help promote and endorse us, that they get our lights. So, Danny Danko, you're next on my list. See you in Seattle. You're getting one of my lights.
You're my first interview like this. I do a regular radio show on the iBake TV every Monday, and then I have another, it's called In New Light Magazine, that I'm setting up an interview with before long. So that's about the only other ways that I've done interviews that people are getting a hold of me. I'm just starting to get out there.
Pretty good, Jason. We really appreciate this, you guys. I guess we've pretty much got a pretty an hour program. You guys hope you refer this to all the clients, and we get these out to the magazines. Lush Lighting, by the way, is the world's leader as far as I can see, and they're really, you know, and you're the first really to get us up to speed. So we got to keep there, got to stay there, keeping up to speed.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Jason, so much. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna got your
Thank you.
information.
God bless.
I've got your information down here below, and we hope to keep educating. Let's keep working on that. And let's tell the viewers back in Michigan, you guys are in Niles, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Years ago, I got a story to tell you about that, because I, as a kid, I used to go out and pick the dope out there in Niles, because I grew up back there.
They grew wild, yeah. From World War II.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, our grandparents were allowed to grow it.
Yeah.
Yeah, our great grandparents anyway. You know, not us. No.
Yeah.
You know, it helped save the war, but you know, we can't grow it to, you know, to your grandma. You know, it's gonna change though. That's so funny. You're out here picking the old heads.
Well, we got to create jobs. It's being found that cannabis removes nuclear contamination not only from the soil but from our bodies. We're being contaminated continuously. This is something for these characters in the DEA and the so-called aristocracy that are trying to control us for the pharmaceutical and Monsanto interests. We're trying to defend our bodies, and yes, and Lush Lighting is a defense for our health.
Exactly. I'm going to prove something to you, Will, that's going to help explain some of that stuff. Maybe in a future episode, if you'd like to have us back on again.
We will.
I'd like to talk about that point later sometime.
Well, how about Hemp Fest this fall coming up? We're going to have you on a lot.
I'll be there.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, guys. We have the greatest respect for you. Keep pioneering.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Jason. We'll see you next week. See, you guys will see yourselves next week. You'll be on the air.
Right on.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Can't wait. Appreciate you. Thanks, Will.
Thank you, Matt. Anyway, that's for All Day Live, and I hope you guys are getting up to speed, because we're trying to keep that speed of knowledge going. It's called the travel of thought. As we travel, trying to create a means by which we can all become sustainable. This is sustainable. I mean, we have a right to be able to sustain to sustain our culture, our jobs, our health, our future, our kids. And this is something for you characters in the apparatuses in the government. You know, you're only representing people with power that want to maintain that power, but we have to stay alive as a people. Think about that. That also includes you guys. Thank you for watching All Day Live this week. Hope you enjoyed this program. We'll see you next week. Thank you. WillPWilson. Thanks a lot, man.
Yep, thank you guys.
Okay, we'll probably we have to detoxify, denuclearize. This is a major thing, more than we realize. It's more important than anyone can comprehend. And the only thing that can really do that is miso soup, kelp, and cannabis that we know of so far.
But they could use that in Japan right about now.
Oh, I know, and we're not, and nobody's thinking. We're trying to get them to think.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to talk to you about what's in that sea kelp and in cannabis that's doing it. I found one of these proteins was something that they don't talk in the science books about photosynthesis. And when I did research, well, why are they not talking about this protein? It seems like, you know, this protein would be here, and this would make everything else make sense if this thing would just be here. And when I went and did more research about what that protein does, I come to find out that it repairs our liver and regrows liver tissue, and
It's what the pharmaceutical companies didn't want you to know.
yeah, it's part of photosynthesis. They don't want you to know, and not every plant species have it. But
It's the dinosaurs that
yeah, it's the older, it's the algae, it's the cannabis, it's the plants that have the unique ability to transfer a lot amount of energy.
Incredible.
My name is Matt Johnson. I'm the owner of LushLEDlighting.com. We're a lighting company. We have some banners up here. We're here at the 2013 Cannabis Cup in San Francisco. We're out here to show everybody why LED is about to be the most common grow light in everybody's grow room. Right. LED has the potential to increase the potency, the quantity, the quality, and the overall yield of quality meds. It's never been done before from LED, and the reason is that is because it's never been fueling photosynthesis the right way. We've been able to look at the chemical composition of light and how it affects the plants at a scientific level, and what we're able to do is fuel the proteins and the pigments and chlorophyll and carotenoids, all with the right type of light. When we